Hello, welcome to another episode of Dear Work Wives. I'm work wifey number 1, Adrian.
And you're number 1 this week?
Yeah.
I guess that makes me number 2. I'm Emily.
You're number 2. Only because I was speaking first.
Yeah.
So we were like chatting before this and I was like, we should just record because I am giving you the update. And
right.
Then
people want the update.
They want the update and they will not be natural if I have to repeat it again, you know?
Right.
Just give it to you. Like, really, we should just record phone calls or something and put them on. So Coco is my just turned 2-year-old and she's going to be starting daycare next week. And so we were kind of chatting about that. She's going to be starting her first day of school next Monday. And so lately I've been having to take Coco with me when I go pick up Kit because Tyler's been like working so much.
Eye roll.
Which is another eye roll for another day. And so I've been taking her with me. And the other day I took her and I was like, Coco, you're going to be going to school here. And she's like, I don't want to go to school. I want to go to school. Like, put me down. I want to go to school. And she had like a huge meltdown because I wouldn't let her go to school. So I'm like, maybe she's going to love it. Like, maybe it's going to be great. Or maybe she doesn't know what she's asking for. And she thinks it's like a play place where mommy's going to be, you know? Like, maybe she doesn't understand.
She knows because Kit goes without her.
Kit leaves. Yeah, that's
true.
She
knows.
Yeah.
I think she's excited. I think she's going to be fine.
Yeah. So
I think the person who's going to have the hardest time is Mackenzie. And like, I would also, if I was Mackenzie, like, just like losing my daily Coco, if I were her, would just be devastating. So
I know they're like literal besties.
They are.
It's gonna be really sad for both of them because Coco asks for her every morning. She asks for her on the weekends. Like she loves her. So that's gonna be hard. I'm definitely gonna cry.
Oh yeah.
Like when Kit had a nanny for like a little bit and she left because she and her then husband at the time were moving to another state. And the way that I just like cried and cried and cried because of their bond and like, you know, like when your child is going somewhere that you feel that they're safe and loved and cared for. And then the transition is, oh no, like what if it's all different? And thankfully it's going to be easier for me because Kit already goes to this school. So I already know the care that she's going to receive and that she's going to be great. So that part will be a little bit easier. But yeah, their bond is like, I want her to remember her, you know, like I actually had an au pair when I was little. For a little bit, and like I still remember her name. I still remember her. Like she was very special to me, and I was very young. So I just hope that we can maintain a relationship for their sake. You know,
we had a nanny for like 6 months when Lila was 3 and Oakley was 1, just because of mine and James's work schedules. Like daycare didn't work, and Lila still asked about her.
It's wild,
you know, and it was only to bridge the gap between a spot opening up at daycare. You know what I mean? We were just kind of waiting for a spot to open up at the daycare. And, or until Lila started school. I don't know. It was always going to be short term, like, you know, less than a year. Yeah. And she still asks about her. Like, do you ever hear from Bailey? I'm like, I wish. Like, because I could really use a babysitter, you know?
Where is she? Do you know?
No, we lost touch, unfortunately. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So, and I know Kit's, you know, 4 and she's very close with Miss Mackenzie too. So we'll have to make sure that stays part of our lives.
Yeah.
So big transition about to be happening here.
Yeah.
But
you're entering a new era
too. Yeah. Not very unexpected. Like we knew it was going to be happening sometime over the summer, but then I got an email on Monday morning this week that was like, we have a spot for her. It's next Monday. I was like,
that seems very sudden. Like, did someone have a baby and pull their kid out?
I don't know what happened, but someone who was in the VPK, which is like the oldest kids class, just emailed them on like Monday or over the weekend saying that their last day was going to be Friday. So their last day is going to be this Friday.
Right.
for whatever reason, they're going to be going to kindergarten next week. So maybe it was just that like
they just dropped the ball.
VPK and like their graduation is on Friday anyways. So maybe it was just like that they're going to do something else for the summer. You know, like maybe he's going to go, he or she's going to go to summer camp instead.
Yeah.
Or they're going to travel or whatever. Like they're obviously just doing something else for the summer. And so the spot that Coco got was that kid's spot. They're just going to move all the kids around a little so that she can get into the twos. So
exciting times for everyone.
Yeah, nerve-wracking.
Because you already have a role. Like your life is already structured enough that like if your kids are sick, it's fine. You just have your kids home sick. It's not the end of the world. You don't answer to anyone but yourself. But you know, for the 80-70% of the time that they're both healthy at the same time, you're gonna have a quiet house.
Oh my gosh.
And like for a long time. My kids are only out of the house from 8 to 3. Your kids are out of the house from like 8 to 5.
Like, I don't know that I was telling Tyler that I was like, when Coco goes to school, like, I don't know that we've ever been in the house alone, like
for that long. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ever, really? How would you have ever been? Yeah.
Right. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know that Tyler and I have ever been in our house without other people being here, including like my children or nanny or like someone's always here, you know?
Wild.
It's gonna be wild.
It's gonna be weird.
So that's a big update from over here.
Yep.
Mary's coming this weekend for
Hi, Mary. Jelly.
Just for like to come to lunch. She's going to a Kenny Chesney concert, and so then she's coming over to like do lunch.
Classic Mary.
Classic. You got to see those kids. So
got to see Kenny Chesney. So
and Kenny Chesney, yeah, that's classic.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift album comes out this week, so that's a big update.
Listen, Alyssa, I know you're listening and you're gonna roll your eyes at me. This is actually my girlfriend Alyssa also texted me after last week. She's like, I listen to every episode too. And I'm like, I know you do. I love you so much. She has her own podcast. You want to check her out, Chronically Fulfilled Life. But also her and I went and saw a Taylor 1989 tour together. She is coming over to listen to Tortured Poets Department with myself and Lila. However, she works on Friday, so we can't listen until 6:30 at night. I was like, I'm gonna have to stay off my phone. I'm gonna have to stay off all the social medias. That's gonna be the longest, hardest day of my life.
Yeah, like because I'm not waiting.
No, I know, and I'm happy to go through that. It's fine, but also that is gonna be the hardest, longest day of my life. Just waiting until I can listen to this album.
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge that you're a really good friend to people.
Thanks. I try.
You are. Like most people would be like, sorry, I'll listen to it the 4th time when you come over, you know?
We're listening for the first time together, and then the music video comes out at 8:00 that night, so we'll watch the music video. We're gonna make some mocktails. It's gonna be great.
Great news.
Yeah. So, big week. It's a really, really challenging week to be a Swiftie with a job, though. There's just a lot going on.
I know. Very much so.
Yeah.
I'm still really riding the high of the SiriusXM Taylor Swift channel. There's a whole Taylor Swift channel, Channel 13. Duh.
Obviously.
But then I got news from Tyler that it's a temporary channel. I was like, but why?
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It should be a permanent channel.
He said it's only going to be around for a month. I was like, what?
Maybe they'll keep it because
that's what I was thinking. I was like, I bet they'll see the statistics, the data. And then I went on this rabbit hole. Okay. I was like, bet they'll see the data and be like, because he was like, yeah, John Mayer channel is going to win. I was like, because there's always a John Mayer channel, but the John Mayer channel plays more than just John Mayer.
It's like John Mayer and such inspos.
And a lot of other artists that kind of sound like John Mayer. I guess it's just like that kind of music.
Right. Sad boy guitar music.
He's like, yeah, he's like, oh, John Mayer channel wins. They're a permanent channel. And I was like,
what is wrong with Tyler? Like, why does he wake up and choose violence?
I don't know. I was like, someone look at the data because I guarantee you this channel is getting more listens than the John Mayer channel. And then we went on this rabbit hole of like, how do they even get the data? Like things that are listened to on the internet and stuff like that, like podcasts, like all of that. I understand how they're getting data, but like the Nielsen ratings. So I went on the Nielsen ratings for like TV viewers.
Yeah.
And things like radio listenership. Do you know how they Do you know how they calculate that?
No idea.
Just like random surveys. And they'll ask you what you're listening to and for how long. I'm like, that sounds really inaccurate.
I've never once filled out a single one of those surveys, and I listen to Virgin Radio every morning. Well, we have breakfast.
No one ever sent me a survey of like, what am I watching on TV? Because I would tell them all Bravo all the time.
Bravo and
no
the
one's
Bear.
asked. And Love is Blind. So
right, basically trash.
Yeah, all trash all the time.
Actually, I watch some non-trash. It's either trash or like the opposite of trash. Yeah, I watch a lot of documentaries about cults.
Yeah. Oh, cults. Yeah.
I'm really into cult documentaries for sure.
Yeah, me too. I was thinking about this lately. I've been like really trying to like be a better person, and
I don't like it. Like you're leaving me behind.
And I was on a walk the other day, and I was like, oh, let me see. Which really, I should just be listening to like, I don't know, an audiobook. But I was like, well, let me see if there's any like new true crime. Or actually, it was because one of my friends shared that they were listening to this like Florida true crime, and like, you know, I love a local true crime.
Yeah.
And I started listening to it, and I was like, this is not good for me. Like, this is not what I need to be putting in my brain right now. It was like, you know, trigger warning about like all these women that got raped and kidnapped in like during the 80s in Florida. And I'm like, why do I want to know about that? Like, why am I just like scaring myself?
Yeah.
You know?
Confirmation bias.
So I stopped. I was like, all right, let me turn this off.
Yeah. And then every day you're telling me you're so behind on like the things that I'm like, you're not even listening to the things that we listen to. Like, just come back to my level, okay? Stop trying to be a better person. Like, just come back.
You know what it is, though?
To the rotting
I
side.
I haven't been going for enough walks is the thing. Because when I was listening to, like, we listen to the Toast a lot, right? Like, that's, you know, shout out to Toasty Girly Swirlies. That's like our pop culture podcast that we like to listen to.
Yeah.
And I usually would listen like while I'm working out or while I'm on a walk, but I've been going to workout classes and I can't like listen.
No.
Which I did step this morning.
Again, it's step day.
Your girl was stepping, and wow, am I terrible at that. But it burns so many calories. It was so hard. It's like, how to know you were not a dancer. Have someone give you some choreography.
Yeah.
You know?
I have no rhythm, so I wouldn't even try.
A step.
Yeah.
That you'd trip on.
Exactly. Sounds dangerous. I'll just lift weights.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So that's my excuse. I need to just...
You're just trying to be better, and like that's cool, I guess, but I'm just going to stay right where I am.
Okay.
Listening to the Toast. Watching Bravo.
I feel better. Like, I feel like my attitude is better.
I know, I don't like that either.
It's making you mad.
It's making me really mad. I'm like, oh, you have hope. Great. You have you have a new lease on life. Wonderful. Yeah.
So happy for you.
You feel joy. Just thrilled for you.
You want to know another like little fun fact from this morning that I just feel compelled to share? I took Coco. I didn't even let you answer.
No, I don't.
I was just gonna tell you. It didn't really matter what you were gonna answer. I took Coco to the doctor this morning for her like checkup, 2-year checkup, and she needed like paperwork for school. And the doctor said that if you measure your typically girls, I think is more accurate at like 18 months, and then you double that height, that's typically like pretty accurate of how tall they're gonna be. And you don't like that? You don't think that's true?
It doesn't seem to make sense at all, but okay, carry on.
Carry on.
Coco's only going to be double the height that she is?
Listen to how tall she's going to be based on that height.
Yeah.
This will blow your mind.
Okay.
5'10".
Wild. I would have thought that sounded so scientifically incorrect and impossible. I'll have to go look at my measuring chart for Lila and see how tall she was at 18 months. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I shared it with my friends, like my little mom group friends who all have like little kids. And one of them shared that like, oh, that would put girl's name at like 5'3", which is seeming pretty accurate because like she's kind of like a little cutie patootie petite girl, you know?
Yeah.
And her parents are more petite. And so I'm like, oh, I mean, 5'10" seems pretty accurate. I was actually hoping that she just didn't get over 6 foot. So like 5'10", that's perfect. I hope
gonna
that's
have to look and
the
see
case for her.
I don't even think I have a
both
record.
of my I can't like, I know, like it made me think. I want to go back and like find Kit's too. But I was like, at what age are my kids going to be towering over me? Because both of them are going to be taller than me.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty
Soon,
quickly.
next year.
Thinking, I know. Age 5 and 4.
Yeah.
5 and 3. Towering over me. Oh. Well, is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we talk stories? Is there anything on your mind?
No, I don't think so. I think I've adequately explained my misery for the day and we can move on.
Okay.
No, I'm excited. I'm fine. I'm just leaning into my my anxiety low rather than fighting it and just being like, yeah, I'm having a sad season. That's fine. It's okay. Not going to last forever. Or it will.
Sad season. Yeah. It's
sad girl spring.
It's okay to be sad.
Yeah.
Right?
For now.
But
better not last forever.
Hopefully you'll be less sad soon.
Hopefully. I mean, I'm going to see Taylor Swift in a few months, so I can't be that sad.
When is that?
Not till November, so I gotta get through the summer. And I can't be sad in the summer. Like, only I would get... I'm gonna see you in a month.
In a month? Less than a month?
Yeah.
In 1 month, we'll actually be parting ways, which is actually more sad.
But we're gonna... Should we think about how sad the trip that we're taking, like... I'm so excited, but it's literally everyone I've told is like, you're going that far for 24 hours. I'm like, yeah.
It's so stupid.
And then like, Adrian like shortened it.
Because, like, I'm even more of an idiot because I'm going to more places in less than 12 hours. I'm going to Vegas for like 12 hours.
Yeah.
On the way home to do a talk.
Which like, I feel like that's so Vegas. So it makes sense to me, but we're literally going to like the west, like to a beach town in Oregon, and we live like as
west coast.
We live east coast. Like Adrian lives on the east coast. I live like directly above her. Canada's wider, so I'm not quite on the east coast, but like we could not live more east from this place than we do, and still live in the same continent, and yet we're going for 24 hours. Wild.
Yeah, they couldn't have asked us to flown further.
No. Maybe California. For me, California would have been further, but
it's not even like once we get there, we're right there.
No.
Like then we got to drive 2 hours.
The things we do to try to be girl bosses.
Grow the business.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm excited.
It's really, really silly. So we're going to be in this like, Oregon place for May. We get in the May 15th. And then we're going to be there at a training on the 16th. I fly out.
You leave me behind.
Dinner. Then I'm going to leave that night to get to Portland so that I can like get back to Portland because I fly out like first thing in the morning to go to Vegas.
And when's your talk on that day?
That day. Like,
no, but like what time?
Oh, I don't know yet. She's going to have to schedule me in later just so that but like I land at 8:30.
Right.
And then I'll just go straight.
Yeah, Vegas time. Too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll land Vegas time and then I'll just, go straight to the event and hopefully she can just slot me more in the afternoon or late morning just in case anything delays. And then I do stay over that night. I was trying to come back that night, like on a red eye or something, but there was none because I was like, let me just get back on a plane and go home. But there was none. So then I fly out Saturday morning to come home. So wild. Jet setter. That's
mogul.
Me.
Business mogul.
Only not.
Yes.
What are we here for again?
I don't know. To tell stories. We're here to make work culture suck less. This is the first time we've like chit-chatted for 20 minutes. So Mary, you love this section. This was just for you. Everyone else,
just for you.
I'm about to hit the mark clip so that I can put in the notes when the stories start.
You know what I think we should do today?
What?
is talk about the future of Dear Work Wives podcast on the podcast.
Okay.
No?
Okay, sure. Let's do it.
Like, how are you feeling? Let's do a check-in. Like, how are you feeling about Dear Work Wives? I know that this is like a lot of work for you.
Yeah. It is.
And we have not monetized this podcast in any way, shape, or form. Like, we not even self-promotion. We promoted like How to CEO a little bit, maybe, but I don't think we got any leads from that, you know? So it's like we haven't not monetized this podcast. And so it's like a lot of work and effort for us to do something that we are passionate about. I believe, I'll speak for myself, that I am passionate about talking about, but I just want to do a check-in of like how we're feeling. We hit a year. Like, this is a year.
This is episode 58. So
yeah, so we're over a year now because we started with like 6 episodes.
Yeah, 6 episodes. Yeah. So because we were,
I think we started publishing on like April 20th, right?
Yeah.
So like we're right at a year of being on iTunes.
Right.
So I think it's like a good time to reflect and see how each of us are feeling and what we want to do moving forward. If we just want to keep doing what we're doing, or if we have changes, or if we're like, yeah. And I thought the audience should hear it. I just thought about it right now.
So kind of you. This is like absolutely one of my favorite things. Just be put on the spot.
Like spring something on you. Yeah, I know.
It's just, I really thrive in these
you could say past and we could not talk about it if you want.
Oh, I mean, we can talk about it, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
I don't want you to sugarcoat it.
Okay, I'm quite happy to keep doing it, but I would like a little bit more support in the back end promoting of
production.
Which was
promoting of it.
Yeah, like I'll do the production, but I don't have a public Instagram account with a bunch of, you don't have 1 million followers, but you're going to.
Wouldn't that be a dream?
I think that you have an audience that I would like leveraged if we're going to grow this podcast. I have a private Instagram account. So, and you're the like person that people trust. You're the authority. I
beg to differ, but I will.
I'd say you have existing authority that I don't think we're doing a very good job leveraging.
That's fair.
And I think if we're not going to put more effort into that side of it and actually growing it, then I think it needs to stop, because it does take me about 6 hours a day, the day of the recording day, to get it all done. Ooh. Between recording, processing time, clips, show notes, getting it on YouTube, getting the captions, all of that.
Yep. What I've noticed is that our reels don't get good views. Did you notice that?
Oh yeah, but sometimes they do. But anyway.
I mean, I'm just being candid too. Like,
yeah,
we're both being direct here, right? So I do post them, but they don't get good views, especially compared to like the other things that I post in terms of reels. And so I just wonder if spending all that time on the reels is worth it. And I know that we like, but begs a bigger question of like, well, if we're not growing our audience through social media, then like, how are we growing the podcast, you know? And whether it's like changing the frequency or having a different promotional strategy. Yeah, I think I need to like think about that more. But it definitely, and because it's not monetized, I will say that like when I'm promoting things on my public Instagram, I always am leaning towards like content about like, what are we trying to sell at Clockwork, or like what do people need to hear to move them towards an action? And typically it's like, then Dear Work Wives goes to the bottom of my priority list in terms of posting other things, you know, just being transparent.
Oh, I know. I could see that already. Well, then maybe we take a breather.
Like, what should I do though? Post all of it all the time? I mean, no. I do post what we have, but
I also like, I don't love that this is the first time you're giving me any sort of feedback.
Oh, I thought it was a good time. We never have time to talk about this because we're
But
like
now, but on an episode that you want me to then publish, like this is a bit
what's
wild.
wrong with it?
It's uncomfortable for me.
Oh, okay. Let's do some stories then.
No, it's fine. We already started it now, so this is the truth. I actually have been thinking that like we maybe, if we're going to be transparent, we should be talking about our own work dynamics a little bit sometimes. So this is perfect. Maybe this episode is just therapy of you and I.
Therapy. Okay.
I think I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think that I fall into a trap of like, I have a long to-do list. Let me get these things done.
Mm-hmm.
I also listen to a lot of podcasts that talk about how like they would try, consistency is key, and they would try for years before it really took off. And having a backlog of content is what helps the account grow. So like, putting in the work to make sure we have a catalog, like that doesn't happen overnight.
Totally.
So I'm also not a huge, like, even for our other businesses, I don't think that social media is like the be all end all. Our other businesses, your other businesses. And I thought that was kind of part of why we were going to this thing in May, was to like help kind of grow and figure out new strategies that are beyond Instagram. So I agree with you. And that's all I have to say.
Okay.
What do you have to say?
I feel like we're saying the same thing, but I feel like you're annoyed with me.
I'm
even
super
though
annoyed with you.
The same thing.
I'm super annoyed with you for doing this like right now. I'm not gonna lie.
I know.
Like, I'm really glad that we don't have any more calls today, so I can go process this offline.
Oh my gosh.
That's okay. Like, I think that's the thing of like, that's the thing that people, I don't like, that's okay. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying like, I'm allowed to be annoyed. I'm not doing anything about it. I'm not throwing a temper tantrum. I'm not being rude. I'm not refusing to participate. I'm just going to go process those feelings offline. Like, so that I don't carry them.
Yes.
This is what we're saying about toxic work cultures. If we're trying to promote humanity, then like people are allowed to be human and have human emotions.
Yes. Absolutely. And you are absolutely allowed to be annoyed with me. And I want to say that I'm sorry for springing it on you, because I didn't spring it on you with the intention of like catching you off guard or it being like a vulnerable or secretive top. Like I didn't think of it that way, which is my fault. And so I don't want you to think that I did it because I knew it was going to annoy you. I didn't.
No, I know.
Okay.
I don't think you would ever do anything thinking like, let me annoy Emily.
No.
Or let me do this thing even though I know it's going to upset Emily. Like, you don't do that. You're not like that.
I didn't think through that. And most of the time that's just the thing, is that I don't think through things. Like I just say them or I just do them, and that's something that I need to work on.
Yeah.
But I think also like part of it is that we haven't had time, or we haven't made the time. I won't say have time. We haven't made the time just because of everything that's going on with Run Like Clockwork. Like we haven't made time to sit down and prioritize talking about Dear Work Wives in a strategic way lately, right? And
I've been saying I've said multiple times in the past few months, like if we're not going to do something different, we need to stop doing this because it's a big time suck.
Yeah. So that's why I was asking here, because especially because you do more, like I do the prep work for the stories, and then like I accept, the posts and stuff, and like post them on my stories, but you do the bulk of the workload in terms of the editing and the, publishing and making the show notes and all that, like you said, the production. And so I agree. I feel like it's something that we're both passionate about talking about. I think that the people that do listen really like the show. They get a lot of value out of it. I think one of my thoughts lately is like, do we need to change up the format in some way, whether that's like some shows are advice and some shows are more topical, just so that we mix it up and have different ideas, but like building a catalog and growing and figuring out what is our, what's the rhythm of what we want to be talking about and what hits and what resonates with people. I do think I need more transparency on the data, because like I don't know how many people listen, like maybe 5, maybe 35, maybe 100. I don't know. And so like maybe that, like, are we growing? Are we staying the same? And so getting more transparent, not that you haven't been transparent, just that we haven't had a conversation because we've been so busy like doing other things. And so our conversation in May, or like the training that we're going to, I think it will be beneficial for Run Like Clockwork, and hopefully we'll also get some benefits for Dear Work Wives and the work that we're doing here. So,
well, also, like, I know that you have like goals and ideas around talking about leadership altogether, that you don't probably need 2 podcasts to do that, which is why I've been very transparent. Like, if you're going to revive your old podcast, you don't also need Dear Work Wives. So I get that,
But what if Dear Work Wives was like a show or a segment on the other podcast? Or like, what if Dear Work Wives was the podcast with like other types of, that's what I was saying, like other types of formats in terms of topics that we talk about.
Right. Yeah. No, I understand.
And then like the advice giving segment becomes one piece of that,
Yeah.
So that we're not doing 3 podcasts, because I think that's a little overkill for anyone. Like, how
especially
can you
when 2 of them are leadership and culture,
right?
It's not necessary.
Like they are similar in terms of who we're trying to talk to and what we want to be saying and what the mission is in terms of what we're trying to accomplish together. So that has been rattling around in my head as I think more about like, because I've talked about YouTube, I've talked about podcasts, so I'm like, okay, I need to like bring all of these thoughts together and figure out how we consolidate so that we can grow things versus just spread ourselves too thin. So really it was just meant to be a check-in with you. I didn't mean for it to be like a whole strategy session for everyone to hear, but now they've heard it, so maybe they'll give us their thoughts too.
Right. And I also think it's valuable for people to hear that like you can have healthy conflict with your team.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And it doesn't have to be the end of the world.
No, you're still my best friend.
Same.
and
we're
going to work well together.
Sucks lately, if I'm being honest. So I also think the timing of this like literally could not have been worse, but that's okay. Like,
really?
I've been telling you for 2 weeks I'm in a low, and you're like, oh, by the way, let me spring this on you.
This is like where we're so different that I have a hard time understanding. Like, I think that maybe I'm lacking a brain cell in this department or a whole bunch, because like I was coming from a place of like, let me give you an out. Like if like this is too much, or if you're overloaded, like let's talk about it and give you an opportunity to like say, hey, like this is too much on my plate, or I don't really see, like, or no, it's fine.
Yeah.
And so that was like where my thought process was coming from. But I totally also now see that, yes, you have been communicating, that you've been in a slump, in a low, and that this felt like a pile-on almost. And that's not I saw it from the opposite standpoint.
And that's why I always know, I was like, I know that Adrienne does not know, because you're not the type of person who's ever going to do anything ever that would hurt someone. But I also know that like emotions are your weakness. Having them,
yes, understanding
them,
right,
and like knowing when to push through them. Like I'm gonna be if we're laying it all out there on the line, like in all the work that we do, and like Dear Work Wives is one of the only places where I also feel like I bring like an equal amount of value and expertise, and I'm seen as an equal to you. So like I don't want to lose that.
Yeah.
But
Fair.
I also like have a lot to do. So, you know,
yes.
outside of it, you know?
Yes. And maybe the goal is like just to financially be able to hire an editor or something, you know, like a production team. Like maybe we're not trying to make money from it, but we're just trying to like cover our costs so that it can free you up from the production side of things. But I also, you know, I understand that that's your experience of being an equal. Like this is the only place, but I feel like you are an equal in all the parts of our business, like whether it's coaching with our clients, like being on a leader on our team. But I understand the optics of me being like the leader of the company and, you know, the intellectual property designer, that there's probably a inequality that you feel in that area. And then this is like absolutely equal playing field. But I see us as absolutely equal. And the reason you're able to be equal playing field here is because you have most of the time way better thoughts and ideas than me on this podcast. Like,
no,
you're
we
always
have the same thoughts.
You're always the voice of reason, like giving like really good feedback and thought. So like anyone that listens to you knows that in any medium that you're sharing, that you are also, you know, equally worthy of listening to. So I hope that you know that. And I can understand in other areas of the business, I'm more of the primary content creator. So it feels like an inequality.
Yeah.
But yes, I will not strip this equal playing field from you.
But I mean, I'm not saying that that's a reason to keep it just because I need something to feel smart in, you know?
I understand, and I don't feel that. And like if I were to do another, like not another podcast, but if we were to change up the formats in, you know, different ways to make it like more cohesive with the whole brand, like I value your voice and your thoughts in not just this advice giving section, but like when we do stories, but on topical issues as well. It's also much easier to have a conversation with someone else versus yourself. Like I'm not opposed to doing some solo episodes if I need to, but you could do solo episodes too if we wanted, you know what I mean? But like the dynamic is to me much more enjoyable to be with you.
Same.
Okay.
I totally agree. Well, I don't think we're even going to do any stories. I think that's what the episode is today.
Okay.
I think we're already at 38 minutes. So
I know.
And it's like, it was like a real live one-to-one.
It really was. I'm really glad we had this talk. I'm sorry that I sprung it on you in a way that was not planned and thought out from my perspective, from my end. I did not even, like, I literally am just talking.
Yeah.
And I say whatever comes to my mind, and I should have thought through that more and stuck to my plan for the episode, but I'm
okay.
not.
I could have just not hit record. I could have just been like, I'm not doing this. Like, or this is not the episode, so.
But I appreciate that you did and that you gave me direct and honest feedback so that it wasn't like, you know, just a fake conversation for the sake of our listeners. So thank you.
I think this is the one that's going to go viral. We're going to have to record all of our one-to-ones.
I told you that before. Remember, I tried to get
you wanted to record my review.
Okay, that's different. You're right.
And then I'll do that, but then we're recording your review, which you've never had. Okay. So you're probably due for one.
I'm fired, probably.
If I'm not fired, you're not fired. But if we can record my review if you record yours.
Okay, you're don't want to do that to you. I would do it to myself. I would. If it was going to be valuable for people, I would. Yeah. I would also be willing to do what I'm asking other people to do.
Yeah.
But given the sensitivity of reviews, like I won't do that to you because it is like a private thing that we can have a really open discussion, and some things are not for public consumption, you know, and that you're right is one of those things that is not for public consumption.
Parts of it are for sure, but like not the parts where I cry.
We could clip it, right? We could clip some things. That I'm not opposed to doing. with your approval of like, here's some moments that might be helpful, but you're not seeing the whole thing, you know?
Well, this was interesting. I can't wait to write these show notes.
Adrian throws
Emily the biggest curveball.
Want to do stories, or do you want to do this?
Okay.
Well, that's all I got. I'll see you next Tuesday.
I'll see you next Tuesday. I think.
Okay.
Probably.
I think.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
Okay, psych, we're back.
We're back. And
we're not even like, I'm just putting this in at the end. It's like,
we're just clipping this in.
Just right after the episode ended and Adrian's now mad at me. So let's go.
Okay, because this is what Emily said word for word. Like, oh, I just wasn't expecting you to tell me that I was doing such a terrible job. And I was like, in what world did I tell you? It's on tape. Roll the tapes.
You said the clips are not doing well.
Okay. The clips are not doing well has nothing to do with you cutting the clips in post-production editing. The clips not doing well have everything to do with what we're saying on the podcast or how interesting we're being or what type of content people engage with on my social media feed. It has nothing to do with you. And I was that was like, I feel like you're my husband, and when we have a conversation, he thinks I say something, and I'm like, okay, say it back to me. What did I say? And he's like, that you hate me and I'm a terrible person. And I'm like, no, I literally said nothing of the sort. And that's also a really important part. Like, I'm so glad that you shared that's what you were feeling I was saying. That's how you interpreted what I was saying, because this is like such a big thing that happens when we're communicating with people, whether it's in a review or we're giving feedback to someone. Like, what they heard is very different than what you said or what you intended to say, like what you were communicating. Like, what I was communicating was not what you understood I was communicating, right?
No, because I pull the clips and I do the hashtagging and I do the content, the copy, the thing. So it was like, you said like the clips are bad. And I was like, oh, well, I make those. So
no. So, but am I explaining myself of why I'm still not saying that the clips being like, and I don't like not bad, but they're not doing well in terms of views.
Yeah.
Is not your responsibility or your fault.
But it is my responsibility to figure out the algorithm and have the clips do well.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's like, I can see that data just as much as you can. And it's like, we have to decide, is this the format, or what can we do that's more interesting for people so that it's, more engaging in a social media post. I don't think it has anything to do with like what you're specifically writing or clipping. It was about the overall content and how it does on the feed. So I just needed to clip this in and record. I was like, you have to press record again, because the fact that that's what you heard.
Yeah.
And that's because that's what was making you feel a certain way too, that I was also not understanding. I'm like, we're obviously on very different ends of a spectrum of feelings, right? Like, you are much more sensitive. I am like a robot. So we're already like sometimes having challenges communicating there. But I was like, no wonder you're feeling like sad that I brought this up. You thought I also am telling you that you're doing a terrible job, and I'm not saying that at all. I am saying you do so much work for this podcast that I wanted to check in and make sure that you're feeling fulfilled and you're feeling like it's worthwhile, and you're not feeling resentful about the things that you're having to do to get this podcast into the world. And if you are, then that's what we should discuss. But never in a million years am I saying that your performance or like the things that you're doing are bad. Like, I think you're doing an incredible job, and I couldn't do even half of what you're doing. So I just needed you to know that. And I needed the people on the listener side to also understand that like things are clearly lost in communication.
Yeah. I think the repeat back what you heard is like rule 101. And
Yeah.
I don't
What
think we
did
follow
you
that rule
really
very often. Like, what do you understand that to mean?
Yeah.
Well,
we'll see you next Tuesday, but I just really needed to like make sure you knew and they knew I was not telling you were doing a terrible job.
Okay.
Because you're not.
Thanks.
You're doing a great job.
Okay, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Okay, bye.